Part 93. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 923. I'm so miserable, I have no body, I'm so miserable. A head with long hair scattered on the ground and a face full of blood rolled over on the ground, crying miserably. Under a large tree like a ghost claw in the distance, a woman in red was hanging there, her head and tongue hanging down together. The tongue almost hung down to the forest, and it was covered with ants. There were several purple-red babies rolling around on the ground, constantly making shrill crow-like sounds. In addition, the figures were constantly changing, and all the ghost stories Zhang Zizai had heard among the people were being played out in turn, which was so frightening that people even suddenly had long hair covering the top of his head. When he looked up, a man with holes all over his face looked at him with a smile and asked, "Am I beautiful?" Xuanhuan was so frightened that she almost rolled down. "They're all illusions." Zhang Zizai took out a few purification talismans in his hand. When he hit them, the surrounding things disappeared. But when the effect of the purification talismans disappeared, these ghosts came back. They had no attack power, but they could kill people. Terrified. After experiencing the initial panic, the three of them quickly calmed down. After all, Xuanhuan had the Wangchuan sword to protect his body, and Lu Dingxing also had the demon tomb inheritance. Zhang Zizai silently recited the Taixi universe soul refining technique and directly withstood this pressure. Caught, caught, it's the moon-eating monster wolf. Suddenly a soft female voice came. Before speaking, a woman wearing a pink robe and holding an umbrella appeared in the darkness. Her face she was smeared with thick powder, especially the blush, which made her look like a doll. The moon-eating monster wolf is pretty good. I've been able to eat it for a long time. Finally, a prey has entered our 100 Ghost Night Parade. Tisk, another skinny man wearing a black robe appeared. His skin was almost black, and the one next to him appeared. The pink and white woman forms a huge contrast. Is there anyone else? Or mortals? Are mortals imprisoned in Star Prison? The next moment, both of them saw Zhang Zizai and the others. Zhang Zizai understood that it turned out that it was the moon-eating demonic wolf that led him into the trap of the two of them. This trap was a totem array called the 100 Ghost Night Parade Array. This totem array is really terrifying. If Shen Xiao and the others follow, they will be scared out of their wits. They still have divine energy on them. These three people just came in from outside. The man suddenly became excited. Wow! Such good luck, the woman also exclaimed. Their expressions were very exaggerated, and then they almost cried with joy. There must be a lot of good things in them. These people are very young. Their flesh and blood are so fresh and tender, so they must be good things. You've made a profit with blood, and there's also a moon-eating demon wolf. The two hugged each other in excitement, as if the prey was completely unable to resist. What do you two think? I advise you to let us out quickly, otherwise the consequences will not be good, Xuanhuan said seriously. Ahem, the man coughed twice and said, Young man, my name is Black Mountain Zufeng. This is Zhoujing Bihai Kongli. 3,000 years have passed. I'm afraid you have never heard of our name as the Great Thief of the Far East. Is that the number? Who knows what the hell it is, Xuanhuan said. Interesting. Bihai Kongli twisted the umbrella in her hand, so excited that the makeup on her face almost fell off. You just entered the Star Prison, you are really ignorant. Just in time, let the two of us teach you a lesson. This precious lesson requires payment of tuition. Each of you has one life, Haishan Zufeng said. Of course Zhang Zizai knew that now that they had fallen into all their traps, everything was useless. They had laid the trap just to kill people. It is absolutely impossible to prevent the other party from killing you. So the only way is to start a war. This is the survival rule of Star Prison. It's very difficult, especially in this totem formation. You deal with the women, While the moon-eating demon wolf and I deal with the men, Zhang Zizai said quickly. Good. The moon-eating demonic wolf is the strongest combat power. It can be used in conjunction with Zhang Zizai. This is the only way to arrange it for the time being. These two are both ancient gods. They must be very strong ancient gods when they enter the star prison. They are just the ones who have just become ancient gods. However, 3,000 years later, the strength should have dropped to the lowest level, barely maintaining the fighting power of the ancient gods. Even so, it would not be easier to deal with than Xuemingzi from the Blood God sect. The three of them summed it up and found that Zhang Zizai was in a hurry and took action directly. The degree of decisiveness was beyond the expectations of these two people. I am in a hurry to reincarnate, and I am very conscious, Hai Shinzufeng chuckled, and a black long knife appeared in his hand. This knife was long, narrow, and extremely strange. The eyes were moving, as if they were living eyes, staring at Zhang Zizai and the others. This is definitely a god-level totem weapon, and it is very powerful. They will be weak, but their totem weapon will not. My ghost dance demon sword hasn't seen blood for many years. Someone finally took the bait. Today I can finally drink blood with it, he Black Mountain Zufeng smiled all over his face. His skin was too dark, and he looked like he was smiling when he smiled. Very ugly. This kind of people were thrown in after they made extremely heinous mistakes outside. It is absolutely a waste of time to reason with them. Yes, my soul-shielding umbrella hasn't had a soul for a long time, Bihai Kongli said with a smile. Regarding Zhang Zizai's attack, they just regarded it as children's play. After all, no matter how rebellious mortals are, they are still mortals, and no matter how weak they are still gods. But as soon as the war started, they might change their views. Zhang Zizai realized that this was a fierce battle, and directly used three kinds of totem magic weapons, and even the demon lord Cauldron was ready. He and the moon-devouring demon wolf could communicate and cooperate through the beast control talisman, almost as if they were one person. Can you subdue the moon-devouring demon wolf? Hai Shinzufeng was very surprised by this. In response to him, it was Zhang Zizai's blood prison sealing sword Qi, of course without the infinite time-breaking blade. He needed to confuse the opponent first. Sure enough, the opponent disdained his attack and lightly used the ghost dance demon sword to dodge it. It's a bit interesting, it can barely pose a threat to the ancient gods. It seems that you are still a talent, so you are even more precious. Hai Shinzufeng's eyes became more blazing. Mortal, three kinds of totem magic weapons, he noticed this again and was already shocked. I understand, you are disciples of the eternal night star sea, and you came here for the trial, Hai Shinzufeng screamed. Zhang Zizai did not answer. But they trembled, and they retreated hurriedly, saying in a hurry, everyone, we were wrong. We didn't recognize you and thought you were criminals. It turned out that you were the adults of Yanjai Zengai. Please don't bother with us. We will send you out immediately. It was obvious that they didn't dare to confront the people of Yanjai Zengai at all. Although they were not afraid of Zhang Zizai, they were afraid of other powerful people who might follow Zhang Zizai. Thank you for your quick reaction, otherwise you would not know how to die. Zhang Zizai had no intention of wasting time on them. Since they thought so, they just left directly. The two were very respectful and sent them out. After coming out, Zhang Zizai turned around and asked, by the way, has Xingyu changed in any special way during this period? Special changes, the two frowned and thought. Yes, Bihai Kongli suddenly remembered something. Please bookmark this site to read the latest. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 924. Because they saw Zhang Zizai's identity, Hai Shinzufeng and Bihai Kongli became active and flattering. Perhaps they had long been frightened by Zhang Zizai's real identity. I believe that at this time, they were all thankful for their quick reaction. If it were the three people from Shaizai, they would probably be scared to death. When Zhang Zizai asked that question, they responded quickly, fearing that it would be too late and make Zhang Zizai impatient. Then, what special changes have you made? Zhang Zizai asked with narrowed eyes. Hai Shinzufeng said, it's like this. We were not here a few days ago. We were in another place. We suddenly saw a bloody light rushing in the distance. It seemed that a blood-colored dragon flew up, and then there seemed to be a blood-colored totem array in the sky. The totem array was like a blood-red vortex, swallowing the blood-colored dragon. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. The blood-colored dragon inevitably reminded Zhang Zizai of Ling Xian. This meant that the scene they saw was likely related to Ling Xian. Then what happened? Then there was nothing. After the noise disappeared, we left and happened to come here. I wonder if this information is useful to the three masters, Bihai Kongli asked flatteringly. It is useful. Since you are quite smart, we will not bother you about the offense you just made to us. However, you need to know in which direction the change is. It is over there. I remember there are dozens of peaks similar to the shape of wolf teeth nearby. We call that place Wolf Teeth Peak. You can get there by following this direction. Hai Shinzufeng answered every question with a smile on his face. But he was too ugly, and he was even uglier when he smiled, making it difficult for people to look directly at him. Okay, get out of here, Zhang Zizai said. Hey! Thank you three masters for not killing me, Hai Shinzufeng laughed. He was scared and sweated. At this time, he looked at Bihai Kongli. After getting permission, the two of them fled in a hurry. After they left, Zhang Zizai asked Lu Dingxing, is their direction the direction indicated by your technique? Lu Dingxing had already compared it, and he nodded. These two people misunderstood our identities and they certainly didn't dare to fool us. This shows that their details have more than 90% probability. Since the two directions overlap, it can be basically confirmed that she is near the Lanja Peak, Xuanhuan said. Zhang Zizai frowned slightly. Boss, what are you thinking, Lu Dingxing? I'm thinking, what do they want to do to Yan'er by making such a big fuss? Anyway, it's not a good thing, Lu Dingxing said. Yeah, haha, let's speed up. Zhang Zizai's eyes were cold, and the three of them sat on the moon-devouring demon wolf and shuttled in the darkness. If it weren't for the means of the Black Mountain Ancestor Peak, it would be difficult to find them. For Zhang Zizai, time is very tight now. What he didn't know was that when the two people from the Black Mountain Ancestor Peak had just left and were about to take a breath, at this moment, an old man in a star robe flew over their heads. Greetings to the Star Lord. The two men's faces suddenly turned pale, and they knelt down and kowtowed. The Star Lord is the absolute king in the Star Prison. In the Star Prison, all the annoying people are terrified of his reputation, and even many people were arrested by the Star Lord. It is naturally bad luck to run into the Star Lord. So they put on a very low posture and prostrate themselves directly, worried that they would be targeted by the Star Lord. It is already difficult to survive in the Star Prison. If the Star Lord punishes them, there will be no way to survive. The Star Lord stopped, looked at them, and said, "You are lucky to be alive until now." These two were the ones who were arrested by him that year. Now they are cursing the old man in their hearts, but on the surface they are still very respectful and worship the Star Lord like worshipping their ancestors. Reply to the god, our two rotten lives are just lingering. Black Mountain Zufeng smiled helplessly. Lord God, we are truly repentant. If we can hold on until we are released after serving our sentences, we will definitely be good people after we get out. Bihai Kongli shivered. Yes, 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 we do know we were wrong. Hai Shinzufeng secretly thought that the three people just now were indeed young talents of the eternal night star sea. Even Lord Xingzia personally protected them in secret. If he had just acted recklessly, he would not know how he died now. Thinking of this, he was extremely grateful. Are those three disciples of Lord Xingziu? Lord God is really powerful. These disciples are definitely talented. Although they are not ancient gods yet, they even have fighting power comparable to ancient gods. Looking at the entire god realm, it is estimated that there are not many who can compare with Lord Xingziu's disciples. He wanted to take the opportunity to praise Lord Xingziu and flatter him. Maybe Lord Xingziu would be happy and release him in advance. Because he thought that Lord Xingziu must have been beside him when he and Zhang Ziyi met them just now. Unexpectedly, when he mentioned this, Xingziu Divine Lord said coldly, "I don't accept any disciples, stop talking nonsense." "That's the disciple of the Lord of the Eternal Night," Bihai Kongli said in shock. "Who is yours?" Xingziu Divine Lord said impatiently. The two were confused. It turned out that Xingziu Divine Lord was not protecting the three of them. But why were they one in front and one behind? Hai Shinzufeng really couldn't figure it out, so he could only say, "Divine Lord, just now three talented young men passed by, and they also brought a moon-eating demon wolf. Aren't they the talents of Yanjai Xingai?" Xingziu Divine Lord sneered, "You are blind. I know who yours is. They are just three stupid people who dared to insult the Star Lord because of their talents. That's why they were punished to Xingyu. They have nothing to do with our Xingai. Could it be that they pretended to be Xingai disciples in front of you to save their lives? It turned out to be like this." Hai Shinzufeng and Bihai Kongli were extremely surprised. They never thought that this was the truth. "I was fooled by this guy. How dare you deceive me?" The two were extremely angry. "Continue to repent, don't have any thoughts, don't even think about going out before the sentence is over." Xingziu Divine Lord looked like he didn't want to pay attention to them, and went to the other side, disappearing in front of them in a blink of an eye. The two looked at each other in bewilderment. "They are not from Xingai, but criminals like us." Hai Shinzufeng's eyes lit up. "They just came in, and they still have a lot of good stuff on them. If we miss them, they will be the ones who get it. These three bastards dared to lie to me. I will catch up with you and make you pay. Chase. Don't let them get away." Please bookmark this site to read the latest. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 925. Remembering that I had kowtowed to them before, of course I felt angry. Fortunately, just after Zhang Zizai and the others left, they met the Lord of Stars and got the truth by accidental. Now Zhang Zizai and the others must not have gone far, and they knew exactly the direction they were walking, so the two of them immediately expand your speed and chase in that direction. The moon-eating demon wolf is moving forward at high speed, but it is not a sprint. After all, this is a long journey, so it must have some strength left. And the Black Mountain Ancestral Peak and the others were sprinting. They started sprinting at a sprinting speed and shot towards the side. Before Zhang Zizai and the others had gone far, they saw the fierce faces of the Black Mountain Ancestral Peak and Bihai Kongli, with ferocious expressions. In the blink of an eye, he was chasing him. "Are you too tired of living?" Zhang Zizai asked. "That's not true. This sentence should be given to you by me. With your abilities, you still dare to pretend to be a disciple of Xingai and think you can really fool me." Unexpectedly, they came back again and discovered Zhang Zizai's true identity. "If you dare to deceive us, you will end up badly. Hee, we haven't tasted the taste of fresh blood like yours for many years. No need to talk nonsense with them, let's do it." Bihai Kongli had already taken out the soul-shielding umbrella again. The two looked at each other and launched a direct attack on Zhang Zizai and the others with the power of the ancient gods. As expected, this fight to the death cannot be avoided. Zhang Ziyi was prepared for the fight last time, and he is not a shy person now. The opponent may be very scary, but with his determination, No matter how strong the opponent is, there is only murderous intent in his eyes. According to the original plan, Zhang Zizai and the moon-eating demon wolf attacked the Black Mountain Ancestral Peak, while the two of them dealt with Bihai Kongli. "Boss, hold on, wait until we get it done, and then we'll help you," Lu Dingxing said solemnly. He knew that Zhang Zizai was actually under greater pressure here, because at the 8th level of the first god realm, his power of destruction was suppressed by the opponent's ancient god's power. If he hadn't cooperated tacitly with the moon-eating demonic wolf, he would have had to let this ancient god chase him until he was unable to fight back. A rough and ferocious battle broke out immediately. Facing such an opponent is completely different from the sparring in the God King's palace. The opponent completely wants to kill him. This is a battle of life and death. There is absolutely no mercy. As long as the opponent finds a chance, he will die immediately. Hai Shinzufeng danced the ghost dance demon sword. It had to be that this ghost dance demon sword was very weird, thin and long, and the eyes on the hilt were extremely real. They were somewhat similar to Zhang Zizai's former devil eyes. When Zhang Zizai faced this after seeing the above look, he once again fell into the totem array of the 100 ghosts at night. Only then did he understand that the totem array of the 100 ghosts at night was probably created in the ghost dance demon sword. This god-level totem weapon was actually bring your own totem array. Die. 100 ghosts walk at night, and all kinds of ghosts come to Zhang Zizai's world, and some even breed in his body. Sometimes he sees himself covered in blood, with wounds all over his body, and then a blood-red animal grows out of each wound. Eyes, and sometimes all kinds of ghosts hang on his body. These are the suppression and harassment of the 100 Ghost Night Parade, and their lethality to Zhang Zizai and the moon-eating demonic wolf is terrifying. Fortunately, Zhang Zizai still had the Demon Lord Cauldron and the Taixu Universe Soul Refining Technique to resist, otherwise, he might have been defeated by a direct invasion and would have been completely unable to get up. Just to be able to block the impact on the soul, it is not easy to block the god-level battle tactics of this real ancient god. Wuji / Black Mountain Zufeng grasped the ghost dance demon sword with both hands and surrendered. Xuanhuan / The sword was slashed out, the sword was crisscrossed, his attack was extremely violent, and there was no room for Zhang Zizai to survive. The oppressive ancient divine power could easily make Zhang Zizai's power crumble. Fortunately, the moon-eating monster wolf protected him, using the river of dark night and the entanglement of the Black Mountain's ancestral peaks gave Zhang Zizai a glimmer of hope. It's no use. You young people will all die sooner or later. No matter how high-spirited you are, if you come to the Star Prison, you will be just like them, prisoners who will never see the light of day. Black Mountain Zufeng said with a ferocious smile. His night parade of 100 ghosts and ghost dance demon sword suppressed him again. At this moment, he actually transformed into an almost wooden clone. The clone held another weapon to contend with the moon-eating monster wolf, and the Black Mountain Zufeng himself directly targeted Zhang Zizai. This kind of battle is easy, just separate us. Black Mountain Zufeng laughed coldly, which was completely opposite to the way they were begging for mercy before. On the other side, Lu Dingxing and the others also fought hard. After all, their opponents were all real ancient gods. To defeat this one, they seemed to need to grow. A ferocious Black Mountain ancestral peak who is completely unafraid of death is indeed like a nightmare. He keeps avoiding the moon-eating demonic wolf, but does not confront the moon-eating demonic wolf head-on. He even uses his clone to entangle the moon-eating demonic wolf in order to suppress Zhang Zizai. He knew that Zhang Zizai would definitely be tortured to death in the end. This is his fun. There is really no fun here in Star Prison. Under such oppressive circumstances, sometimes the moon-eating demonic wolf could not save Zhang Zizai even if he wanted to. This Black Mountain ancestral peak is completely an old fox, and he still has this vision to survive in this Star Prison. He knows that Zhang Zizai is the master of the moon-eating demonic wolf. Once Zhang Zizai is taken care of, the moon-eating demonic wolf will be useless, and he will not need it at all. Go head to head with the moon-eating monster wolf. On the other hand, Zhang Zizai had the blood prison sealing sword in his left hand, the 33 killing divine mysterious soldiers in his right hand, and the demon lord's cauldron shield on his body, which surprised him very much. This guy is very capable. He is so amazing at the 9th level of the initial god realm. That's the power of your totem. It's quite good. Hai Shinzufeng had just experienced the lethality of Zhang Zizai's infinite time-breaking blade. It was a pity that even if he could freeze the opponent, he didn't have enough burst to kill the opponent instantly. This is the gap in strength, which is really difficult to make up. Under the pursuit of Hai Shinzufeng, Zhang Zizai tried his best, but it was difficult to pose a real threat to him. It's still a little short. His eyes were bloodshot. Now the road to Lanja Peak was blocked by Hai Shinzufeng. To him, this person had become his enemy. He now had endless murderous intent in his heart, and the violent mood emerged unprecedentedly. Escape, where are you going to escape? Hai Shinzufeng used his clone to block the attack of the moon-devouring demon wolf while attacking Zhang Zizai. His ghost dance demon sword was very scary. Every time he hit the demon lord cauldron, the ancient god's source power rushed in and pierced a blood hole in Zhang Zizai's dragon scales. If it weren't for the demon lord cauldron, Zhang Zizai would have killed him long ago. Please bookmark this site to read the latest. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 926. This is the gap between me and the ancient gods. Only by experiencing it in person can you truly feel what a mortal is and what an ancient god is. The difference between the source power and the source power of the ancient gods is fundamental. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. This is not a level of power at all. Hee, you're almost done. This turtle shell can't hold on any longer. Hai Shinzufeng laughed. There was no mercy in his eyes. In a place like Xingyu, there was only a difference between hunters and prey. I haven't encountered such a fresh for a long time. I have many ways to play. You must not die. I have been tortured in this Xingyu for so many years. I have long forgotten what it feels like to enjoy. Hai Shinzufeng laughed twistedly. You are being tortured, that's what you deserve. What does it have to do with me? Zhang Zizai is now like a dangerous trapped beast. He is retreating step by step, but his eyes are still dangerous. He looks behind the Black Mountain Ancestor Peak, that's the direction where Lingxian is, the place where he will go even if he dies. Can't let her wait too long thinking of her loneliness. The fire in Zhang Zizai's heart has already burned into a raging flame. No one can stop me. What is the purpose of cultivation? Isn't it just to make the people around you safe and sound, happy and free? If I can't even do the most basic things, then what's the meaning of my Tao? That direction is now his belief and his promise to Yan'er. His mind is full of her shadow, her perfect profile in the sun. So quiet and natural, she is so beautiful, she can't suffer at all. If it must be like this, he will go to change his fate. The black flames burned violently on his body, and the blood light of the blood prison sealing sword moved on his body like a bloody venomous snake. His body was already stained with blood, and the demon lord cauldron could no longer protect him, but the eyes burning with anger still had the power to make the Black Mountain Ancestor Peak slightly in awe. He had never seen a person with such fighting spirit, and the will of others could sometimes shake everything. Zhang Zizai often wondered what the real way of destruction was. He lacked a great success, so he longed for other good fortunes to allow him to figure out this last step. It was just that he had almost walked through the Tongshen ancient tower, and no one could give him an answer. Even the real God King could only guide himself from the 7th to the 8th level. And there was no idea from the 8th to the 9th level. But Zhang Zizai now understood that all this depended on himself, and only he could really reach the end. The source is the source, and I am myself. I am destruction, but I am not destruction. I am Zhang Zizai. I have my own will and my own life. He once knew that he was destruction itself, but now all this makes him look for himself, a real self. The battle never stops. Struggle in adversity, give yourself hope in despair. The God King seems to have thought that if he really wants to become a god, he still has to achieve himself. His self is much higher than that of ordinary ancient gods, so it will be very difficult for him to find himself. What am I? When he was oppressed by the Black Mountain Ancestor Peak, when the attack of the Ghost Dance Demon Sword once again penetrated the Demon Lord Cauldron, and then penetrated his flesh and blood, until his injuries were enough to trigger the undead talisman and give himself another life, he saw a real self step by step. He is not a cold-blooded animal, he is a creature of emotion, he has love and attachment, and it is love that makes him want to be free and want to protect, which is the root of a life. The source of destruction is the source of destruction, and oneself is oneself. It is not destruction that makes me successful, but I want to achieve destruction. Only when I am the master, can I be a true god. When Xuanhuan became a god, he had done a lot of exploration. In fact, that observation had a huge impact on him. Now, under the fatal blow of the Black Mountain Ancestor Peak, he saw the real self, a self who fought bloody battles, would rather die than give up. How can I not like myself like this? People must respect themselves and believe in themselves, that is the supreme way. If you can't even see yourself clearly, if you even hate yourself, how can you achieve your own way? There was a moment when Zhang Zizai seemed to have left his body, and he saw himself fighting to death from another angle. That young man was absolutely worthy of respect. He wanted freedom and eternity. He wanted everything he loved to be intact. This me, is very important. I must be myself, the only one in the world, and there will be no repetition of myself. First there is myself, then there is the way of the source, with myself as the main body, controlling the source, then there is destruction. He saw it, saw his sublimation, saw the great success of the source of destruction, and while the immortal talisman allowed him to be reborn, his source realm broke through to the 9th level of the initial god realm. Although not as fast as Lu Dingxing and others, but unlike them who were guided by others throughout the whole process, every step of Zhang Zizai was taken by himself. His future will never be limited. This is not the case with Lu Dingxing and others everywhere. Everyone has his own destiny. They do not have such a strong heart as Zhang Zizai, so they can only take that road, otherwise they will not be able to come to the God realm at all. Even in the long run in the future, they will be easier to improve than Zhang Zizai. But every progress, the real sublimation, the improvement of spiritual will, no one can compare with him. Just like at this moment, he seemed to be reborn and transformed, the fire in his eyes seemed to have brilliance, which made Haishan Zifeng extremely surprised. He was about to kill Zhang Zizai, and he never expected that this person would be reborn from the dead. How is it possible? You are obviously dead. You have to be right, the me in the past is dead, and you can't afford to provoke me now. Zhang Zizai's body is covered with black dragon scales, and his initial magic dragon transformation makes him a peerless killing machine. Now at this moment, the two swords in his hands, blood and black, are even more ferocious. At the same time, the moon-devouring demon wolf finally tore the clone of Haishan Zifeng apart, roaring towards Haishan Zifeng. You are playing tricks, so I will let you die again, Haishan Zifeng sneered. And you only need to die once. Buzz. The blood-colored sword energy was like Zhang Zizai's eyes at the moment, slashing on the ghost dance demon sword of the Black Mountain Ancestor Peak. This time, the power suddenly increased, and once again made the Black Mountain Ancestor Peak unable to move. At this moment, Zhang Zizai's other sword was more violent than before. The great chaos immortal sword formation mixed with the infinite sky-splitting slash fell on his head, and at the same time, the dark night river of the moon-devouring demon wolf also descended. Please bookmark this site to read the latest. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 927. The attacks of the two merged together, and in an instant, the Black Mountain ancestral peak was engulfed. In an instant, his body was shattered into thousands of pieces. He didn't even let out a scream, but it turned into a rain of blood, clattering. Fall down. At this moment, Zhang Zizai was like the god of death walking out of hell, but he was born for love, but under the killing, there was tenderness. He didn't expect that this journey to the star prison would be so good. On the road in front of him, he was going to save Lingxian, and Lingxian was also making Zhang Zizai successful. Sometimes, only real experiences can make a person truly grow up. Ouch! Such Zhang Zizai made the moon-eating demonic wolf howl very loudly, making a shrill sound that lasted for a long time. In the darkness, the young man picked up the ghost dance demon sword, like a devil coming to the dust. On the other side, the death of Black Mountain Zufeng directly led to the collapse of Beihai. She only wanted to escape, but the two people who cooperated tacitly did not give them a chance. In less than 3 breaths, Xuanhuan pierced the heart with a sword. Next, she fell to the ground, looking at Zhang Zizai and the others with a dull expression, having completely lost her voice. Everything stopped. "Boss, are you okay?" Lu Dingxian came up panting. He was also very exhausted in the battle just now, mainly because Beihai was a little restrained on him. She was erratic and not easy to capture. "It's okay." Zhang Zizai landed on the moon-eating demonic wolf first, signaling for them to hurry up. "He must be fine. I guess he broke through during the battle and reached the 9th level of the first god realm. I heard that breaking through during the battle is actually the best destiny. You may become a god in the future." Before us, Xuanhuan said with envy, and at the same time, there was some admiration in his eyes. Zhang Zizai didn't have the Wang Chuan sword or the Demon Tomb inheritance, but he was able to maintain such strong competitiveness and was selected by the God King like them. This was his greatest personality charm. Become a god, Zhang Zizai knew that he would start to consider this issue next. All those who have achieved the 9th level of the first god realm must consider becoming a god. The moon-eating demonic wolf has quickened its pace and is moving forward again. The delay at Black Mountain Ancestral Peak and the others was not too long. After they left quickly, Lord Xingxiu appeared on the spot and looked indifferently at the direction Zhang Zizai and the others left. "Come from the Totem world? Could it be that this world is in chaos, so that these originally humble people can be so lucky? Xuanhuan and Lu Dingxian are just lucky, but what's going on with Zhang Zizai? If we don't get rid of him this time and let him know the truth, I'm afraid there will be trouble in the future. I have to talk to the Star Master quickly. We must not let them get close to the altar." He was a little dazed. He didn't expect that one day, he would value a person who has not become a god so much. They originally thought that they would be unable to move forward when they came to the Star Prison, but they did not expect that they found the location of the altar directly, and their momentum was overwhelming. If they did not stop it, the result would probably be beyond the expectations of the Lord of Evernight Star. The process must not be interrupted. The Ghost Dance Demon Sword is a magic weapon that is much stronger than the Blood Prison Sealing Sword. It comes with the 100 Ghosts Night Parade, which can give the enemy a terrifying mental shock when used. They will continue to see fantasies, see various ghosts, and various horrific scenes, such as being covered in bugs and so on. Zhang Zizai had experienced it personally, and of course he knew that the slender Ghost Dance Demon Sword was much more lethal than the Blood Prison Sealing Sword. However, it is still inferior compared to the 33 Killing God Mysterious Arms. The 33 Killing God Mysterious Arms does not seem to have any special effects. In fact, its increase in lethality is particularly terrifying. Zhang Zizai's Great Chaos Immortal Sword formation is only a top-grade weapon. The super-level battle tactics are completely inferior to the ancient gods' dry-level battle tactics, but with the increase of these 33 heavy kills, it takes 33 bursts to kill the opponent. The magic weapon that came to Suicide God looked much stronger than Outsiders. Zhang Zizai will definitely not replace the 33 killing god mysterious weapons, but he wants to try controlling the Ghost Dance Demon Sword. If successful, he will use the Ghost Dance Demon Sword to replace the Blood Prison Sealing Sword, so that the combat effectiveness can be improved. The owner of the Ghost Dance Demon Sword was beheaded by Zhang Zizai. I believe that this god-level totem weapon can clearly see the difference between Zhang Zizai and the Black Mountain Zufeng. In comparison, a death row prisoner and a young man with a bright future are not at the same level. For many people, it is difficult to surrender the god-level totem weapons, because weapons of this level have their own consciousness and they have their own choices. But it didn't seem difficult for Zhang Zizai. He had a half-divine soul and the Tegzu universe soul refining technique, and because he was the one who killed the Black Mountain Ancestral Peak, the process of subduing the Ghost Dance Demon Sword actually only took about 3 minutes. 3 days later, the Ghost Dance Demon Sword was already under his control. Now, he has this slender demon sword in his left hand, and the 33 killing god mysterious weapons in his right hand. One sword and one sword. When the swords are combined with the first demon dragon transformation, they look more like a killing machine, like a generation of killing gods. One knife seals the throat, one sword pierces the heart. He and Sukyanyu use swords in completely different ways. They take the sword as their totem and pay attention to the will of the sword and the style of the sword. The sword is the person and the person is the sword. When using the sword, they are equivalent to using part of the body. Mentally more lethal. In Zhang Zizai's hands, it was purely a weapon. Swords, guns, swords, and halberds are all the same. After taking control of the Ghost Dance Demon Sword, his mood became even stronger. This time, he finally saw the peaks like wolf teeth appearing at the end of the horizon. "We're here," Zhang Zizai's eyes were blazing. He finally found this place. He actually encountered many enemies along the way, but the moon-devouring wolf avoided them with phantoms. What he didn't see was that right in front of them, the star god had been waiting for them. Of course he wouldn't do it himself. He really wouldn't let them see him. He stood in the canyon, facing Zhang Zizai in their direction, with a smile on his face. "Things, come out for me," he waved at a huge abyss. After he waved, suddenly, 18 emerald green eyes lit up inside. The eyes were extremely huge, strange, and cold. "Go and have fun with those 3 people. You can destroy their foundation, but you can't kill them completely. Do you understand?" Star God smiled. Hiss, hiss, hiss. From the depths of the abyss, the master voice of the 18 eyes came, and then the ground rolled, as if the nearby earth began to shake. "The moon-devouring wolf is just a matter of 1 bite," Star God smiled. Please bookmark this site to read the latest. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 928. Zhang Zizai and others have already entered the Zhengzhou Lanja Peak. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward arrow. There are dozens of peaks shaped like wolf teeth. Lingxian should be among these wolf fang peaks. We are already very close, and the guidance of his Suangzin soul-chasing skill is not so clear. Next, we may have to search one by one. But Zhang Zizai was already very vigilant, because he believed that it was unlikely that everything would go so smoothly, and he did not believe that the Lord of Yanjai Star would not send someone to stop them. Even if it cannot be stopped in person, it is possible in other ways. The result was just as Zhang Zizai expected. As soon as he entered Lanja Peak, he could already feel the danger approaching. The danger this time was more terrifying than the previous ones. The moon-eating demonic wolf immediately stood up on its hair and entered a state of combat. This was the instinctive vigilance and fear of a beast. At this moment, the ground began to roll, and a huge crack came from a distance. In a blink of an eye, it was in front of Zhang Zizai and the others. At this time, the ground shook. When they quickly dodged and dispersed, a giant beast emerged from the ground amid the dark evil aura. The beast was extremely huge and extremely ferocious. At first glance, it was the Star Prison, the top beast among them. After taking a closer look, he could see the full picture of this giant beast. It was a thick demonic snake. Its body was even thicker than the moon-eating demonic wolf. It was covered with dense and thick snake scales, as if it was wearing a suit of armor, like a giant snake. The iron whip has many sharp spikes protruding from the scales on its surface. Once entangled, it is estimated that it can be directly strangled into powder. But the most disturbing thing is the head of this demonic snake. It suddenly split open at the neck, and 9 identical heads grew out. Each head has a single horn, sharp fangs, and split snake letters. 18 green eyes stared at its prey, locking on Zhang Zizai and the others. When the demonic snake appeared, the moon-eating demonic wolf couldn't help but howl. It seemed very ferocious, but in fact, this was the manifestation of it encountering a more terrifying creature. Only in this way can it suppress the fear in its heart and embolden itself. Blackwater 9-headed mysterious snake Xuanhuan's eyes were cold and solemn. Zhang Zizai doesn't need an introduction. The strength and weakness of some mythical beasts can be seen at a glance. The terror of the Blackwater 9-headed black snake can be clearly demonstrated. It is definitely difficult for the 3 of them to join forces and the moon-eating demon wolf to deal with it. The opponent is enough to bring them a life crisis. They are really interesting. They use this to deal with me. It seems that they will stop me here no matter what. Zhang Zizai only had a sneer on his face. It's really despicable. Xuanhuan was an upright person. Such low-level methods really made him despise him. Moreover, this was a decision made by the top elder of Yanjai Zinggai, but he was so arrogant. The Blackwater 9-headed black snake didn't give them much time. Almost as soon as it appeared, it came directly towards Zhang Zizai and the others with its 9 heads to bite them. Not only did it bite, but it also opened its mouth. At that time, a large amount of black mist was directly sprayed out. The large amount of black mist filled the air and could quickly completely fill the surrounding space. This is poisonous mist, called the Dark Madness Tide. Even if the ancient god is contaminated too much, the flesh and blood and the ancient god's source power will be corroded. Frankly speaking, this kind of poisonous beast is more difficult to deal with than ordinary ones. Even though Zhang Zizai and the others were all talented, they were somewhat powerless in the face of the disparity in strength. His demon lord Cauldron can protect himself, and Lu Dingxing's fighting holy demon's physical body is very resistant to the poisonous mist. Xuanhuan is also protected by the Wang Chuan sword. The ordinary poisonous mist is difficult to get close to, but the moon-eating monster wolf has no way. Once the poisonous fog engulfs it, it will have no room to perform at all. The most terrifying thing is that when the poisonous mist is erupting, a white flame begins to burn on its body. The flame burns fiercely, and what people feel is not scorching heat, but extreme coldness. When the flame burned, black ice began to condense on the ground wherever it touched. Xuanhuan, this is also one of its totem magical powers, called White Bone Ice Fire. It looks like a flame, but in fact it has nothing to do with burning. Poison, ice, and fire are the deadly weapons of this Blackwater 9-headed black snake. Of course, coupled with its terrifying physical combat power, intercepting it with such a divine beast can basically lock Zhang Zizai and the others and let them retreat. Anyway, Zhang Zizai and the others have no evidence to prove that the Blackwater 9-headed black snake was guided here by their people from the Evernight Star Sea. The demon snake made a harsh hissing sound, 1 against 4. In fact, it has 9 heads. Each head looks independent and very long. It seems that it should be 9 against 4. The three of them are at least facing the attack of two snakeheads, one sprayed out a violent wave of poisonous darkness, and the other controlled the bones and ice fire, condensing them into white fireballs, and crashed towards them. Even if you dodge it, when the white fireball hits the ground, it can directly turn a large area of land into black ice. There is more and more ice around, gradually forming a cold frozen world. Zhang Zizai and the others may be completely frozen by then, without any room to move at all. In addition, if you are not careful, you may be swallowed directly and bit into pieces. This undoubtedly shows that the current situation has fallen into an extremely passive state. Zhang Zizai had expected this kind of scene. He had never underestimated their disgust. He wanted to take her away, but he encountered such an obstruction. It was already considered that the other party was afraid. Otherwise, if one or two top masters were directly attracted, they would not even have a chance to attack. Now, Zhang Zizai can barely block the attack of the Blackwater nine-headed black snake. After his realm has grown, his combat power is stronger than Lu Dingxing and others, especially in terms of the lethality of the end. The 100 Ghosts Night Parade in the Ghost Dance Demon Sword in his hand has a certain effect on this demon snake. He used the Ghost Dance Demon Sword in the illusion, and killed the infinite time-breaking blade, but he could only fix one or two heads of the Blackwater nine-headed mystic snake. The Great Chaos Immortal sword formation of the 33 Killing God mystic soldiers had been entangled with the snake head of the demon snake, dispelling the opponent's white bone cold fire, but even if there was a chance to chop it, Zhang Zizai was shocked to find that the Blackwater nine-headed mystic snake was actually the strongest in its flesh. Lu Dingxing was completely suppressed, and it was difficult for his Killing God mystic soldiers to really cause damage to it. The dark night river of the moon-devouring demon wolf was completely wrapped around the body of the demon snake, and those silver-colored sharp needles could hardly pierce the scales of the demon snake. On the contrary, the counterattack of the demon snake made the moon-devouring demon wolf retreat step by step, and a lot of ice froze on its body. At the same time, a lot of poisonous fog had already penetrated into its body. The moon-devouring demon wolf would definitely not be able to hold on for long. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 929. Superior. The three of them gathered together and cooperated once. First, Zhang Zizai controlled a snake head with the infinite time-breaking blade. Then all three of them attacked the snake head. Among them, Xuanhuan pierced the sword twice in a row. Fa directly hit the eyes of the demonic snake. This time, it finally blinded its eyes, but it was still difficult to tear other parts. At most, it tore the scales. It might take half a time to cut off the entire snake head. And this also inspired the ferocious nature of the Blackwater nine-headed black snake, making it even more ferocious, directly forcing Zhang Zizai and the others to wastefully run away. After a lesson from their neighbor, this Blackwater nine-headed black snake Xianxi was completely smart. The position of its eyes was filled with thick black mist. Now it was difficult to grasp the specific position. They wanted to repeat the same trick and cooperate again, but it failed directly. Lu Dingxing was still frozen. He fell to the ground. Fortunately, he was thick-skinned, so he was able to get up quickly, otherwise he would have been bitten by this monster snake. The demon snake went crazy and suppressed Zhang Zizai and the others until they could not breathe. The demon lord's cauldron was hit by the opponent's snake head and almost collapsed. Zhang Zizai was also knocked away and flew directly out of the battlefield. It hit a wolf fang peak, and the bones almost fell apart. He quickly got up. Without killing this demonic snake, it's impossible to make any progress. But the current situation is so cruel that there is no room for it. Brother Zhang, you take the moon-eating demonic wolf away first and look for her invisibly. We'll entangle it. Don't worry, I just tested it and it doesn't dare to actually kill us, Xuanhuan suddenly said. He saw that Zhang Zizai was knocked away, and the direction in which he was hit had crossed the black water nine-headed black snake and reached the wolf fang peak. "Boss, trust us," Lu Dingxing climbed up and roared. He belongs to the type who gets braver with each battle. Even though he has many scars on his body, his recovery ability is actually very scary. "Hurry up, we can do it," seeing that he was still hesitant, Xuanhuan said loudly. Seeing them fighting bloody battles to block this demonic snake for him, it was impossible for Zhang Zizai not to be moved. Forget it, Lu Dingxing was like a brother after all. They had always dedicated themselves to each other and achieved each other. Unexpectedly, Xuanhuan had just joined. Their team will directly make such a choice on such an occasion. It's not that he doesn't know the huge risks, but he is willing to do so. Maybe for him, the meaning of becoming stronger and becoming a god lies in this place. Some people are indeed worthy of paying for them, because they are completely sure in their hearts that they will not let down their good intentions. When they encounter trouble in the future, they will be like this now, without hesitation, and would rather die than give in to help themselves. Save your life first. It may not be able to catch up with me. Zhang Ziyai made a decision in an instant. In fact, although the black water hydra is strong and has 9 heads, it only has one body after all, and it cannot be separated. When Zhang Zizai, the 3 of them plus the moon-eating demonic wolf, a total of 4, are separated, it may not be able to do anything. After Xuanhuan's reminder, Zhang Zizai knew what was going on. The only thing he was worried about was the safety of the 2 of them, but they were right. The black water 9-headed black snake was 100% sent by the people from the Yanjai Star Sea. They were all chosen by the ancient gods, so it was impossible for them to. If there is a real worry about life and death, it will not even shake the foundation. Otherwise, the Lord of Yanjai Star will not be able to explain to the God King at all. The God King managed to select 3 special talents through the feast. He was very happy with his appetite. If the Eternal Night Star Sea was destroyed, the Lord of the Eternal Night Star would be responsible no matter how he quibbles. At the critical moment, he must trust his brothers. Zhang Zizai felt that he was really lucky to meet 2 people with the same appetite. Lu Dingxing did not need it. The appearance of Xuanhuan really made him feel lucky. This young man was pure and natural, and his heart was straight as the edge of a sword. This kind of innocent-hearted person will never disappoint anyone as long as he is sincere. He is Xuanhuan, but he is indeed not another Xuanhuan. This kind of him is the personality that Zhang Zizai longed for in the past. So he directly asked the moon-eating demonic wolf to leave the battle circle, and directly asked Lu Dingxing and the 2 of them to entangle the black water 9-headed black snake. The reason why the moon-eating demonic wolf was taken away was because the moon-eating demonic wolf did not have the protection of the God King. It was already in danger. If it was not taken away, it would definitely die here, and the demonic snake would definitely take out its anger on it. Moreover, the moon-eating demonic wolf can help him and move forward in hiding, so that even if the demonic snake catches up, it will not be so easy to find him. In terms of speed and concealment, the moon-eating demonic wolf still has some abilities. Zhang Zizai directly rode on the demon wolf, escaped into the darkness, and disappeared in front of the black water 9-headed black snake. It is very simple to tell whether this demon snake is sent by Yanjai Xingai. For example, it knows who the key figures in this industry are. When Zhang Zizai escaped first, it screamed, completely gave up on Lu Dingxing and the others, and went directly to the ground. Was shaking, and they were chasing wildly in the direction where Zhang Zizai disappeared. He was nervous and violent, and even if he encountered rocks wherever he went, they would be smashed directly. Lu Dingxing and Xuanhuan are not in danger at all. That's why they performed better, especially Lu Dingxing, who was like crazy at this time. He rushed forward, hugged the snake's tail with his huge bare paw, and hung on it directly. He pressed his legs on the ground and pulled the black water snake back. The snake was eager to chase Zhang Zizai, and was thrown up by Lu Dingxing with great force. He turned in the air and smashed hard on the ground. Boom. The ground shook for a while. Zhang Zizai looked back and felt more relieved. The farther the moon-devouring wolf left, the more it hid. It was not easy for the black water nine-headed snake to grasp their position. Moreover, there were people harassing at any time, so it couldn't chase them wholeheartedly. Lu Dingxing seized the opportunity and smashed it randomly, making a huge noise in the star prison. Earth Sword Net. Xuanhuan descended, and with one sword, he split out tens of millions of sword chi, weaving into a huge net, which directly covered the body of the nine-headed black water snake, making a harsh ding-ding-ding sound. Some of the sword chi also penetrated the snake scales, causing a certain degree of trauma to the demon snake. The demon snake became even more angry. It shook off Lu Dingxing and tore open the Lin sword net. It was going to teach the two a lesson, but when all the killing moves were about to unfold, it immediately gave up because it had a more terrifying existence. It came to perform a mission. The man warned itself that it could only turn back again and chase Zhang Zizai, but at this time, it was not easy to find him again. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 930. Moreover, the two annoying guys came up again and entangled with it endlessly. Both of them had rich means. One was good at various sword techniques. If the weapon in his hand directly pierced it, it would definitely be very painful. Now both eyes of one of its heads were still stinging. The other one was proficient in various skills. His body was comparable to that of a divine beast. It looked bulky, but it was actually very flexible and extremely powerful. It was simply invincible. The black water nine-headed black snake did not expect that this task would become so difficult. It fell into struggle and confusion. When it thought of the result of the failed task, it trembled and was completely dominated by fear. What Zhang Zizai could hear was that the movement behind him was very serious. He still believed that Lu Dingxing and the others could find a way to delay the black water nine-headed black snake, so he was relieved for the time being. He focused all his attention on searching. In fact, the range of Lanja Peak was also quite large. It might not be as easy as imagined to find a person in such a large range. He and the moon-devouring wolf kept speeding up, looking for clues around. Indistinctly, Zhang Zizai could feel her presence. After all, they were both dragon totems. "Where are you, Yan'er?" Zhang Zizai's eyes kept shifting, and of course he was anxious. He escaped the obstruction of the black water nine-headed mystic snake, and the person who arranged the demon snake must know that although there was not much time, he would definitely arrange new obstacles for himself. It was so difficult to fight against such an existence. So blatant, you really don't even want your face. Zhang Zizai's eyes were cold, and boundless anger accumulated in his heart. She must be around, she must be waiting for him. Zhang Zizai knew that he could not let her down in any way. Taking her away from here was also his promise to Shen Xiao. In life, some things are not allowed to fail. He has succeeded so much, and this time he must succeed, even if his opponent has risen to the peak existence of the God realm. Fortunately, he also has someone to protect him. If he hadn't performed seriously at the God King feast, he really didn't know how he could get here at this time, and he might not even be able to enter the Eternal Night Sea. He kept looking, and the sound of the black water nine-headed mystic snake fighting sometimes approached and sometimes became farther away. This showed that the demon snake had not found him at all, and he still had time and opportunity. Finally, at a certain moment, when he and the moon-devouring demon wolf got into a jungle, suddenly some ripples shook in the air, and both of them disappeared directly. When they disappeared at the Lanja Peak, the Star Lord appeared behind them. He had a sarcastic smile on his face and said, "They can even get rid of the black water nine-headed mystical snake. They are really capable." The Star Lord probably didn't expect them to come here, and so quickly. Fortunately, the Star Lord had prepared for it. He stared at the ripples in the air in front of him and sneered, the galaxy illusion formation arranged by the Star Lord himself. Even the God Lord may not be able to walk out, let alone him. As long as the God King doesn't come to take him, let him wander in the endless galaxy for the rest of his life. In fact, it was because of the existence of this galaxy illusion formation that he had always been relatively relaxed and did not have too many obstacles. At most, he only arranged the black water nine-headed mystical snake. He originally wanted Zhang Ziyi to face the difficulties, but he didn't expect them to be stubborn. Finally, you fell into this galaxy illusion array, which is what you deserve. Anyway, you got in by yourself, and it has nothing to do with me. And Lingxian, that girl, can't hold on for a while. When you come out, everything will be over, and there will be no clues. What can you find? Without evidence, you can't do anything. He smiled, waved his hand, and said helplessly, what is wrong with this world? Just a mortal generation can give us a headache. No one believes it when it is spread out. This guy can do this. It is unprecedented. But, how can a little baby fight with us, he? For the long life of the gods, those under 20 years old are almost the same as those who have just been born. It is probably like the attitude of the elders in the mortal world towards babies who are not even a month old. In this regard, the star god was surprised. Zhang Ziyi didn't expect that he would come to such a place just after taking a step. This was actually a void. He and the moon-devouring wolf were suspended in the void. There was no spiritual energy or even any gas in the void. He and the moon-devouring wolf did not need anything. They were suspended in the void. In such a place where it was difficult to distinguish up, down, left, and right, even moving was a bit difficult. This was a starry sky, with dots of light everywhere. He seemed to have come to the Milky Way. There were stars all around him, some close, some far away. Where is this? He looked around in confusion. Beside him, the moon-devouring wolf whimpered. It was also completely confused, but its silver hair began to light up. It could see the surrounding starlight gathering towards its body and condensing in its body. It seemed to be absorbing the starlight. Can you absorb the light of the stars and the moon? The moon-devouring wolf became powerful in this way, Zhang Ziyi asked. The moon-devouring wolf understood what he said and nodded. It does not need to do anything by itself. As long as it exists here, the starlight around it will gather towards its body, making it shine brighter and brighter. It can be felt that in the gathering of starlight, its body and strength seem to be getting stronger. The power of the divine beast is somewhat similar to the ancient god's source power. People call it the source power of the divine beast. This is the power born from the body after it becomes a divine beast. It comes from the blood inheritance. The power is slightly weaker than the ancient god's source power, but the divine beast can make up for it with the advantages of the flesh. The gathered starlight has a certain repairing effect on the flesh and source power of the moon-devouring demon wolf. Zhang Ziyi is now confused and worried. He has a hunch that he must be trapped somewhere, and this must be the trick of the eternal night star sea. This is the most troublesome place. So he was a little anxious. The moon-devouring demon wolf could absorb these starlights to restore itself, which was just an interlude for him. He took the moon-devouring demon wolf and walked forward. There were stars everywhere around. After getting closer, it was found that these stars were a kind of spherical meteorites that gathered infinite starlight. Some were large and some were small. The surface of the large one was comparable to that of a Yanlong dynasty, while the diameter of the small one was only a dozen feet. It looked like a large eternal night star sea, much larger than the eternal night star sea, but Zhang Ziyi knew that what he saw now was not real. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 931. This is probably a totem array. I thought, how could they not have other preparations? They must use this totem array to trap me here. In this case, I can't go anywhere. Then they can explain that it's me. Break in by yourself. Zhang Zizai was very depressed, and his eyes gradually turned blood red. He is now in a predicament. The brothers have fought for opportunities for themselves, but he is trapped here. For half an hour, he has been searching and moving forward, but this vast galaxy has no end at all. It is the same everywhere. No matter how he walks or moves, everything around him will not change. This is the most despairing part, because there is no exit in this world, or, with Zhang Zifan's strength, it is impossible to find it no matter how hard he goes. How can the other side let me, a mortal, get away from here when he is well prepared? How despicable and shameless. Zhang Zizai's mentality was a little bit explosive. He fell into impatience, and he knew that as time went by, the more he cared about if your mind is full, you will become more impatient. Nothing makes people feel more resentful and angry than having no hope. Zhang Zizai was furious. His hatred for Lord Yanjai Star had been rising. He now guessed that this totem formation was probably the work of Lord Yanjai Star. This woman was disgusting and reminded him of the first god Xuanhuan. Thinking about it carefully, they are really similar, except that it was the 9 Immortals last time and Lingxian this time. Although the encounters were different, Zhang Zizai's anger and hatred were exactly the same. He could now fully guess that the Yanjai Star Lord treated Lingxian like this. There must be a secret that cannot be told, and there must be something sinful about it. But so what? The endless world of stars will only make people despair. That time with the 9 Immortals, it was actually a lie, but at least Zhang Zizai could do nothing. But this time, when he was trapped in this eternal world of stars, the feeling of powerlessness was simply mind-numbing. His anger and hatred had long erupted like a volcano, but his sense of powerlessness also rose, which made him struggle. He was so explosive that he even exploded a meteorite with one punch. She must be laughing at me for not overestimating my abilities. She is laughing at my whims, and she must be watching my jokes. This must be the totem array she arranged. With her attainments as a quasi-god king, how could she let me find my way out of here? Way. She can trap me for as many years as she wants. He was like an ant that had been put into an iron kettle. The iron kettle had been sealed and everything was dark. No matter where he climbed, he could not reach the end of the world. What's the use of being angry? The feeling of powerlessness in life is sometimes a kind of nightmare. The feeling of despair of watching family and friends leave and having nothing to do, is enough to make people want to die. Yaner. Zhang Zizai's eyes were as hot as fire. He couldn't imagine it at this moment, because when he thought of her current state, there was a fire burning in his heart. He wanted to break this earth, but in fact he could only break one star, and this earth seemed to have billions of stars, equivalent to ants in an iron kettle, just biting off a grain of dust on the inner wall of the iron kettle. Bite off the dust, how can you get out? The difference between mortals and gods is still very big, like a cluster of differences. He felt the powerlessness of ordinary people, which could be fatal. Zhang Zizai never thought that he would fall into such a desperate situation. Everything about him seemed so ridiculous at the moment. If I can't take her away and keep her safe, then what's the use of becoming a god? I already have the regrets of this life. The battlefield of the God King once made Zhang Zizai understand that becoming a god is a struggle and thinking. Now he is also trapped in this kind of confusion, but his confusion is not comparable to that of Suyuixi. The dead end in life is so scary sometimes. But even so, he didn't have the slightest idea of giving up. He was still trying and struggling. He didn't know how long it would take. He didn't need to know how ridiculous this futile effort was, but he didn't care. Even if he died, it would be nothing. Die standing. He keeps moving forward, like a brave fighter, fighting face to face with fate. At least, he still has this moon-devouring demon wolf by his side. At least it can comfort him and empathize with him. Zhang Zizai discovered that it had absorbed a lot of starlight within 2 days. Now, wherever it goes, stars can be absorbed and become dimmed, and their light disappears. Its efficiency in absorbing starlight is simply getting faster and faster. The original moon-eating monster wolf was certainly not as strong as it is now, but the star prison was dark and without starlight for who knows how many years. It had long been on its last legs. But now, it seems to have regained some of its energy. When Zhang Zizi moved forward, it also moved forward. Unexpectedly, it absorbed starlight more and more efficiently. By the third time, basically wherever it went, the nearby stars it immediately dimmed. "Have you become stronger?" Zhang Zizai asked. This is the only surprise in despair. The moon-eating demonic wolf shook his head. "Are you regaining your previous strength?" Zhang Zizai changed his words. At this time, the moon-eating demonic wolf nodded. This means that it was once powerful, but in the endless years, the star prison has worn away its grace and beauty, making it the most fragile divine beast. "Attack me," Zhang Zizai said. What he didn't expect was that the moon-eating monster wolf almost killed him with just one crescent slash, and the demon lord's cauldron was almost torn apart. In just 2 or 3 days, it has recovered to this extent. It's hard to imagine how powerful it once was. Zhang Zizai was at least happy for it. Since he had no goal, he followed the moon-devouring wolf and went everywhere to absorb the light of the stars. It was getting more and more efficient. Even the largest star only took half an hour. Unconsciously, Zhang Zizai felt that even the starry sky had dimmed a lot, and the moon-devouring wolf was still recovering juice. Another time passed. Zhang Zizai's heart had long been extremely anxious, but he seemed to see hope, because the dimness of the starry sky seemed to make the surrounding space unstable. He began to suspect that this place was supported by the light of the stars. Maybe, the moon-devouring wolf is not able to crack it, but its instinct is just able to disintegrate this totem formation. When the moon-devouring wolf absorbed enough starlight, he saw the collapse of this world. At that moment, the dawn shone in. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 932. Zhang Zizai doesn't really believe in fate, and he doesn't think that life and death are determined by destiny, and wealth and honor are here. He feels that one can fight against fate, and there are many people who resist and change their fate. But he believed in cause and effect, and what he sows will bear fruit. Kind people will always have bad consequences, and people who do evil will have their retribution sooner or later. He took the moon-eating demonic wolf with him and promised to take it out of the star prison, which was considered an unintentional intervention. However, what he never expected was that in the Galaxy Fantasy Array, the moon-eating demonic wolf would actually be able to help yourself. Time passed and the starry sky dimmed. When the brilliance of the stars dissipated, the dawn came at this time. Just a year ago, a big hole was opened in the starry sky, allowing Zhang Zizai to see the outside world. He knew that the totem formation had already cracked. He actually didn't know how difficult it was for others to crack the totem formation. If he knew, he would know how lucky he was to bring the moon-eating demonic wolf here. When the gap with the dawn appeared, he almost didn't say anything, directly mounted the moon-eating demonic wolf and rushed out of the gap. The moment he came out, the starlight and starry sky disappeared. He successfully escaped from the totem array and came to another place. This place is very familiar. He has seen this background on the mother-in-law mirror. This is definitely where Lingxian stayed before. I didn't see the full picture at the time, but only now did I see that it was an altar. The ground was covered with blood-colored totem patterns, which were ferocious and strange, like a bloody mouth. There is also a dim totem array at the corresponding position above the sky. It should not be running at this time, so it is in an extinguished state. This is a special place, Zhang Zizai's destination. When he came here, he didn't look at the altar carefully or the totem array. His eyes focused on the center of the altar. In the center, there was an iron frame with a girl in a pink skirt. He was tied to it, and his hands and feet were already entangled and locked with iron chains, making him unable to move. She was a little tired, her eyes were dim, and she seemed to be asleep. At this time, she heard a noise, raised her head slightly, and her expression was a little cold. Maybe she thought the people coming were those annoying guys again. When her eyes saw the young man standing with the silver demon wolf, she was startled. Maybe she thought she had seen it wrong. Just after that moment, Zhang Zizai was already standing in front of her. Everything about him was so clear, so how could he be dazzled? At that moment, her eyes seemed to be frozen, motionless, looking at her with an extremely dull look. His eyes were already reddish, and a crystal tear slipped from them, falling down his cheeks and onto the altar. The moment she saw him, Zhang Zizai could only feel relieved. The anger in his heart had always been there. After seeing her current situation, it was definitely more fierce. But he didn't want her to see that he was not calm. At this time, she needed to be relied on, so Zhang Zizai's expression was very stable. He gently wiped away the tears on her face and said, "Don't be afraid, I'm here, I will make sure you are safe and sound, and I will make the sinners pay with their blood." Yes, Lingxian nodded heavily, pursed her lips, then smiled slightly and said, "I'm not afraid anymore." Not at all. What locked her to the iron frame was not some top-notch spiritual mineral material. Zhang Zizai took out the 33 killing god mysterious weapons. This was the sharpest weapon in Zhang Zizai's hand. It was very top-notch in terms of material. Now Zhang Zizai attached to it with the power of sky-splitting slash, slashed it with a sword, and directly cut off the handcuffs. In less than 3 breaths, she was freed from the restraints and regained her freedom. Zhang Zizai supported her. Judging from his eyes, Lingxuan's physical condition was relatively poor now. Her state was indeed not bad, but she was very weak and even unsteady. She could only stand with Zhang Zizai's support. "Do you feel uncomfortable?" Zhang Zizai asked. A bit. She frowned slightly, then relaxed and said softly, "After you come, it won't feel uncomfortable anymore." Zhang Zizai gritted his teeth. To be honest, it was difficult to control the anger in his heart. Standing by her side in person, he naturally knew more about how difficult her experience during this period was. And those who gave her all this, Zhang Zizai put all this into consideration. Keep it in mind. Just like the time he survived in the Origin Divine sect. This altar is already evidence of their evil deeds. If they were simply sent to the Star Prison, there would be no need to trap Lingxian in a place like this, or even imprison him in the Galaxy Illusion Array. The evidence is conclusive, how can they still argue? Zhang Zizai hugged her gently. Now she was much softer, and her body was trembling slightly as she snuggled gently into his arms. "I thought I might never see you again." Her voice was weak, and although she was restraining herself, she was still choked with sobs. Zhang Zizai could only pat her back gently to let her relax. The question before him was, how to get out of here next. Just when he was thinking this, in the void before his eyes, ripples suddenly shook, and an old man with grey hair suddenly appeared. When he saw Zhang Zizai, his face was filled with shock and he yelled. "Zhang Zizai, how could you possibly pass through the Galaxy Illusion Array? This is impossible." His face was full of astonishment. Maybe Zhang Zizai found it all the way and it didn't matter to him. Because of the existence of the Galaxy Illusion Array, he knew that Zhang Zizai would never succeed. He just never expected that Zhang Zizai just blinked. He actually came in. It is absolutely incredible that he passed through a place that even the Lord of Gods might not be able to pass through. So he simply couldn't figure it out. Zhang Zizai was not afraid of him, but they were all deadly enemies. At this time, he looked coldly at the Lord of Stars and sneered, "Why is the Lord of God so excited? Since I am imprisoned in the star prison, where can I not go? It seems that the Lord of Gods and the Star Lord's bad deeds were exposed by me on the spot, so they are furious and at a loss. Shut up, this is not the place you should come to, get out of here quickly," the Lord of Stars scolded. "Lord of God, do you think that if I get out, the matter will end? I have seen everything I should see." Zhangzi held her in one hand and confronted the Lord of Stars, who was many times more powerful than him. The Lord of Stars had never made such an intention. He came to supervise Zhang Zizai in person, but he was so derelict in his duty, so he was having a headache and didn't know how to explain to the Lord of the Eternal Night. This junior is as good as Sichuan University, which makes Xingzia God Lord feel evil. His eyes instantly turned cold. He stared at Zhang Zizai and asked, "Don't forget that you are just a mortal. I can kill you with a flick of my hand. You'd better be careful when talking to me."